You can draw this in Procreate. I have spent hours and hours in the Flow Lab again to develop a brand new tutorial for you, and this one is so much fun. And while we create this cozy cafe illustration, you'll learn about the selection tool, about using symmetry, layer masks, and a lot more. For this tutorial, we're working on a canvas that is 3,500 pixels by 3,500 pixels. The color palette is linked in the description as always. So if you're ready, let's just get started right away. We will start off by adding a color to our background. We'll go to the layer menu and then you can tap background color. And then we'll pick this fourth color in the third row. And then we can get started on our cafe. First, we need to pick our color. We are going to use this second color in the first row. And now we are going to make the base shape of our building using the selection tool. So let's tap the S-shaped ribbon, then select rectangle, set it to color fill, and then we'll start here and make a rectangular shape like this. And then we'll make another one like this. And then tap the S-shaped ribbon to get out of here. Next, we are going to add a roof. We'll do that on a new layer. We'll tap the plus, and then we'll grab a different color. We'll grab this one. That's the seventh color in the first row. And again, let's make a selection. We'll go to the S-shaped ribbon. Again, use rectangle with color fill turned on. And then let's go a little bit higher than our main building shape. Let's go for something like this. And not all the way to the bottom, not all the way to the top of that shape, to about here. And then we'll go to the move and transform tool. That's the little arrow up here. And we are going to set it to distort. And then we'll go to snapping and turn magnetics on. And now we can pull this lower handle. We can pull it outwards a little bit. And we can do the same on this side to about here. Next, we'll make a new layer underneath this. So we'll go to layer 1, then we'll tap the plus, and then we'll grab another color, this one, 8 color in the first row. And then we'll make another rectangle with the selection tool. Let's zoom in a little bit. And we'll start at this corner. And then we'll go to the right to add a little bit of thickness there, like this. And then turn off the selection tool. And then if you're happy with this, then you can just merge these two layers together. We can just pinch them like this. And then let's make another layer. Let's first tap our base layer. Let's tap the plus. And then for the color, I'd like to go back to that seventh color in the first row. And for our brush, let's use the Studio Pen. It's under inking. It's a Procreate standard brush. And let's check the size. I think that's okay. The opacity is at 100% and the size at 10%. And we are going to make a rectangular, bit rounded shape here for the cafe sign. So let's start a little bit to the left of this side. And we can make a line like this. You can use the quick line if you like. You can make a perfectly horizontal line. And then a little bit lower, like here. We can make another one. And hold your pen in place and then tap one finger on the screen. And now we can make a bit of like rounded corners. Because I want it to look a little bit playful. I don't want it to look too perfect. Maybe we can make it a little bit higher. And then once you have a closed shape, so no gaps, then you can drag in the color. Maybe make this a little bit more tidy. You can just go along the corners, make them nice and rounded. So now we have a place for our sign, which I think could even be a little bit bigger. What you could do actually without drawing on top again, what you could also do is just go to the move and transform tool, set it to freeform, and then you can just pull here and make it a bit bigger. And then tap the arrow again. As long as this is on a separate layer, you can always scale it, move it around, adjust it. So that's perfect. Now let's go to layer 1 and let's tap the plus And we are going to set this new layer to clipping mask so that whatever we do, it'll only show up on that shape. And we are going to grab a different color. We'll use this one, fourth color in the first row. And then let's use the selection tool again, set to rectangle with color fill turned on. And now let's add some color to this lower part. Then just tap the S shape ribbon again. And now next, I'd like to make a sunshade right next to this area where we have a sign. I'd like to make a sunshade. And to do that, we are going to make a new layer. Let's just tap the plus. And for the color, we'll grab this one, 9th color in the first row. And the first thing we'll do is create some rectangular shapes. We'll go to the selection tool again. And let's just zoom in a bit. And let's make a rectangular shape. Something like this. Size isn't super important at this point. Let's just make something like this. And then tap the S-shaped ribbon again. And now we are going to duplicate this. You can do that by sliding down with 3 fingers and then tapping duplicate. Or you can go to your layer, slide to the left, and use duplicate. So you don't need to use your fingers. So now we have this duplicate layer. Now we are going to grab this color, the 10th color in the first row, and let's drop it on there. Then we'll go to the Move and Transform tool, and we are going to slide it to the right like this. Let's zoom in a little bit. I don't want there to be a gap. And let's also turn on snapping actually. So it'll snap to the other part. Let's turn off the Move and Transform tool so we can zoom in. I can see a tiny little gap and I can see that it's slightly lower. So we can go back to the Move and Transform tool and tap once here and tap once here. And then tap the arrow again. Now it's nicely aligned. Next, let's merge these two together. We'll pinch them together and then we'll duplicate them again. We'll slide to the left, tap duplicate, go to the Move and Transform tool and move it right. Then tap the arrow again, check we don't have a gap, and do that again. Let's slide down, tap duplicate, move it to the right until it snaps, and then tap the arrow. Then slide down again, tap duplicate, move it to the right, like this. Then tap the arrow, slide down with 3 fingers, duplicate it, and move it to the right until we have this. Then tap the arrow again. Now let's merge these layers together. And let's also put them on top of our sign like this. Next, we'll go to the Move and Transform tool. And I want to place it up just a little bit. And we can set it to freeform. We can push it in a little bit to about here. We can make it a little bit more narrow. And then let's go to Distort again. And we'll push it outward a little bit to this side and to this side. And then just tap the arrow again. Next, I'd like to have some of those like semicircles hanging like underneath here. We're going to make a new layer to do that. First, we'll tap layer 3 here, then we'll tap the plus. Then let's grab our 9th color. And for the brush, let's go to the calligraphy brushes and use the monoline brush. Let's set the size to 10%. Make sure that the opacity is at 100. Then let's go in here and make a circle. Hold your pen in place. Tap 1 finger on the screen for a perfectly round circle. Then let's drag in the color. Then we'll go to the Move and Transform tool again. Let's set it to uniform. Let's go in here and let's make sure that the size is correct. So here it snaps to that, well, to this area. Then let's move up. Well, let's see that it needs to be a little bit bigger. So now it should align. Let's check. Let's turn off the Move and Transform tool. I feel like it might need to move a little bit to the right. So we can tap it again and then tap on the outside. Let's check again. I feel like it was better before. So let's move it back. Now we need this for the light area as well. So let's tab the arrow, slide down with 3 fingers, duplicate this. Then we'll grab that light color, that 10th color in the first row, and drag it on there. Then we can move this one to the right. And when I look, I feel like this, these lines, these bowls need to align with this line. So our circle needs to be a little bit smaller, like this. Now let's do that for the other one as well. We'll go to this layer, go to the Move and Transform tool. We'll move it up a little bit and make it just a little bit smaller. Let's see if this works. Needs to align with the other circle. Let's see, let's turn this off. I can see a little bit of a wobble here going outside. Let's tap and hold the eraser so that we are sure that it has the monoline brush and not some brush that has texture. Then let's remove this part. Not too much. Let's make the brush nice and small. So we get something like this. Now you can add these one by one, or we can duplicate these. Let's select them both. Let's select them both and drag them onto the canvas to duplicate them. Now we have 2 duplicates here. Select those. So by sliding to the right, you can select them both. Then go to the Move and Transform tool and move this to the right. I feel like right now, I'm not sure why this is happening, but here we have some space. Let's tap the arrow. Let's go to this light one, then to the Move and Transform tool. And this one needs to be a little bit bigger. Tap the arrow. Now we can just do this like 2 by 2. So now again, we can select these 2, drag them onto the screen, then select the top 2, then go to the Move and Transform tool and move it to the right. I feel like this is going well. Then we can do it again. So we have the top 2 selected, drop them onto the canvas, then make sure to select the top 2, go to the Move and Transform tool and move it to the right. Check if it's nicely aligned. I think it is now. And I will do this again. Drag them onto the canvas, select the top 2, go to the Move and Transform tool and move to the right. I think they're all nicely aligned. I just feel like maybe we have a little bit of a gap here. That's these 2. Let's go for this light one. We tap once. Let's check. Now it's not really aligned here. These are little details, but let's just fix it a bit, make this a little bit bigger. I think it looks better now. So once you're happy with how all your circles are aligned, you can merge these together. Let's first pinch these together, then pull this down and merge them with these 2. So we have the top part of the sunshade, and then we have all these circles. And now we can add some shadow to those circles. We can tap the plus for a new layer, and then we can set that new layer to clipping mask so that whatever we do, it'll only show up on these circles. Then let's tap the N here and scroll up to the multiply layer blending mode. Multiply is great when you want to add shadow. Now let's grab a soft brush. Under airbrushing, let's grab the soft brush. And for the color, let's try this one, for instance. 6 color in the first row. Opacity of the brush is at 80%, size is at 15. And let's just go over here to add some shadow. And it immediately brings some depth. For our next step, let's make a door. Let's, actually, once you're happy with the sunshade, you can pinch these together. You could also pinch it with this, but in case you want to add extra shadow later on, then it's nice to have these separated. Now let's go to this layer. Let's tap the plus. And then for our door, let's use this color, fourth color in the first row. And let's use the selection tool again to make a nice rectangle. I want it to be a little bit below our sunshade, about here. And I want it to be about this size, nicely centered, all the way down to our colored part here. I think it's nicely centered now. Now let's make a new layer on top. We'll tap the plus, and then for the color, let's use this one, fifth color in the first row, then go to the selection tool again, and let's make a rectangular shape like this. Then let's duplicate this. So slide to the left on your layer, tap duplicate, then go to the bottom one, and we are going to add a dark color to this one. Let's grab this one. 8th color in the first row. Let's drop it on there. And you can't see it right now, but we will be able to see it once we make this layer smaller. Let's go to the Move and Transform tool. Let's set it to freeform. And then let's make this smaller. Let's use these handles to add a little edge around our window. Let's make sure that it's nicely centered. And then let's grab our eraser, which is already set to the monoline brush. The opacity of the brush should be at 100%. Let's set the size to 10%. And then we'll make a line like this. Hold your pen in place, tap one finger on the screen for a perfectly vertical line, and I will make another one over here. And again, tap your finger on the screen for a perfectly horizontal line. Next, let's work on some windows. But before we do, I actually would like to make our building a little bit lighter. Let's go to our building shape, and I actually want to add this third color in the first row. Make it a bit more bright, just drop it in here. It was handy that it was a bit darker when we worked on our sunshade, but it's no longer necessary. So let's do this, and we can also actually merge it with this shape over here. Let's just pinch that together. And now for windows, let's go to this layer, then let's tap the plus, and then for our color, let's grab this one, the 8th color in the first row, and for our brush, I want to go back to the calligraphy brushes and use the monoline brush. We are going to start with a circle. So let's draw a circle over here. Hold your pen in place, tap one finger on the screen. This will be the top of our window. Let's go for maybe something like this. Let's drop into color, and I make a new layer on top. Let's tap the plus, go to the selection tool, set the rectangle with color fill turned on, and then we are going to make a rectangular shape like this. Then we need to go to the Move and Transform tool to make sure that it nicely aligns with our circle. First, find the center point of your circle. That's that horizontal line like this. And now we need to work on the sides. Again, you need a blue line here as well. And now we can tap the arrow to check if it really is nicely aligned. Sometimes it's still a little bit off, but I think this is good enough. And now that we have this, we can pinch these two layers together. Let's do that, and then let's duplicate it. We'll slide to the left, tap duplicate, and then for this layer, we'll add this color. 5th color in the first row, drag it on there, and then we'll go to the Move and Transform tool again. And again, we'll use freeform, and we'll make the shape a little bit smaller, just like we did with the door. We'll add a nice little edge around it. So something like this. Then tap the arrow again. Next, we'll add a layer mask to this layer. We'll tap this layer and tap mask. And a mask is great if you want to erase parts without really erasing. It's like a non-destructive erasing because you can always get things back. So we'll be drawing on this layer mask with black. And for the brush, we'll use the monoline brush. And I will make a line right through the center. Hold your pen in place, tap one finger on the screen, and then make another line like this. And then I'd like to have two more lines here at the top, but I want them to be symmetrical. An easy way to do that is by going to the wrench, then to Canvas, then turn on Drawing Guide, then go to Edit Drawing Guide, and then here at the bottom go to Symmetry. Then let's zoom in and use this handle over here to find that center point, find that line, put it nicely in the middle of this vertical line, and then tap Done. And when you go to your layer menu, you'll see Assisted. That means that symmetry is turned on here. And then we can make a line over here, and it'll show up on the other side as well. So that's super handy. Once you have this, you can go back to the wrench and turn off the drawing guide. Next thing we'll do is duplicate this window. We need more windows, so we don't have to draw them, create them all over again. We can just select these layers and let's group them to keep things organized. So we'll tab Group, then we'll close this group by using this arrow, then slide to the left and tab Duplicate. Now we need to select this group, so make sure that only this group is selected and nothing on the other layers. So just tap it once, then go to the Move and Transform tool and move it to the right. And I just feel like they might be a little bit too big. So what we can do is just select both of these groups by sliding to the right, then go to the Move and Transform tool. We can actually use Freeform. Make these a little bit smaller, a little bit thinner. And then we can place them in the center. Maybe have a bit more space in between. I'll place the left one like this. Then we'll go back to the layer menu, grab the top one, go to the Move and Transform tool, move this one to the right to about here. And then tap the arrow again. Next, let's duplicate this group again. Slide to the left, tap Duplicate, then go to the Move and Transform tool and move this downward. And I'd also like this window to be a bit bigger, a bit broader, something like this. Sometimes magnetics gets a bit annoying, so you can just turn that off. And sometimes snapping is annoying as well. Let's just turn it off so we can freely move this to about here. The top is a little bit higher than our door. Then let's go back to the layer menu. We are going to remove this mask. Let's slide to the left, delete it, and then go to the Move and Transform tool again for this shape. I'd like the area around it to be a little bit broader here, a little bit thicker. So something like this, and then tap the arrow again. Then for a window over here, I'd like just a square or a rectangular window. Let's make a new layer on top of these groups. Let's tap the plus. Let's grab that dark color, 8 color in the first row, then the selection tool. And let's make a rectangular shape like this. Then we are going to duplicate this. We'll slide to the left, tap Duplicate, then grab that 5th color in the first row, drag it on there, and then go to the Move and Transform tool again to make this a little bit smaller and make the thickness about as thick as on this window. So let's go for something like this. You won't be able to see the top. Let's go for something like this. Tap the arrow, and then let's use the eraser again. We need the brush to be a little bit bigger, maybe 20%. Let's see. Yeah, that's a nice thickness. Let's first make a vertical line in the center. Tap your finger on the screen, and then make 2 lines like this. And one over here. Hold your pen in place And now we have a nice window. Next, let's work on some plants. Let's zoom in a bit. Let's make a layer on top of our windows. Let's just tap the plus. And then for our color, we'll grab this one, 7th color in the first row. And for our brush, let's go back to the studio pen. And we are going to make a rounded rectangle in front of the window. So we'll make like 2 of these lines. And it can be a little bit wonky, that's totally fine. So a little bit rounded. I guess something like this. Let's drop in the color. I think this looks nice. Nice rounded corners. And now I'd like to add a little bit of texture. Let's tap the layer and we are going to turn on alpha lock. So now we can't draw or paint outside of this shape. Now for the brush, I'd like to go to the treasure chest brush pack. And then we'll use the round chalk brush. And for the color, we'll grab this darker color, 8th color in the first row. The opacity of the brush should be at 100%. Let's set the size to maybe 15. Let's see. Maybe a little bit smaller. Let's go for 6. And then make a line over here and one here. And let's darken the top a bit. So adding a little bit of interest to this thing. Not sure what to call it. Now we can duplicate it. So we can slide down with 3 fingers, tap duplicate, then add one over here. And let's undo this. Let's turn on magnetics. So we can slide to the right and keep it at the same height. Place it here, then tap the arrow. Then let's duplicate it again. So we'll slide down with 3 fingers, then tap duplicate. Then move this one down. Let's turn off magnetics now. And let's make it a bit bigger. Let's set it to freeform to stretch it a bit and place it about here. Then we are going to duplicate this one. So first tap the arrow, then slide down with 3 fingers, tap duplicate. Then let's turn on magnetics again. So we can slide it to the left and keep it at the same height. Let's move it to here and then set it to freeform and stretch it a bit like this. And then tap the arrow again. Now for some plants. Let's first pinch these together. And then let's place a new layer on top. Let's tap the plus. We are going to use the round chalk brush, but I want the colors to vary just slightly with every brush stroke. So we are going to tap this brush, then we'll go to color dynamics, and then we'll go to stroke color jitter, and we'll turn up the hue to 5%. Then tap done, and now with every stroke that you make, the color will vary just slightly. Now for our plants, we are going to use these colors. Let's start with this one, for instance, first color in the second row, but you can switch around. Let's set the size of the brush to 10%, and let's just make these little dabs, creating very simple plants. Then we'll switch to another color like this one, 4th color in the second row. Add some more plants here. And then we'll use a lighter color, this one, 5th color in the second row. Add some lighter plants as well. And just fill that like this. And we'll do that for each of these windows. You can also use this color, 2nd color in the second row. So just these 5 colors, they are perfect for our plants. And you can just fill these areas with these dabs. Grab the 4th color again. Just layer it on top of each other, then the 5th color. And then do the same for the lower windows like this. Next, let's add some texture to our building. Let's go to this layer over here. Let's tap it and turn on Alpha Lock. Then we'll stick with our round chalk brush, but I do want to turn off that jitter. So we'll tap the brush and then set the hue jitter to 0% to none, and then tap done. Then for the color, let's grab this one. That's the 6th color in the first row. And let's make the brush a bit bigger, maybe 30%. Let's see. Yeah, that's perfect. Let's add a little shadow here at the top, making these horizontal strokes. And let's do the same over here. Just a little bit, moving down. And let's also add a little edge right here on top of that sunshade. And let's also add a little shadow underneath these flowers. Over here as well. This already adds character. Let's do something similar for the windows. Let's go to this layer, for instance, that's on our door. Let's tap it and turn on Alpha Lock. And then for the color, let's grab this one. 2nd color in the first row. And let's just go over here and add a little bit of light to the lower section. Then let's do the same for the other windows. You need to open the groups, then tap this layer, turn on Alpha Lock, and in this case, this is the left window. You can turn it on and off to check it, and then go over here and add a little bit of light to the lower part. Then for the next one, let's close this one, open this one up, go to this one, tap it, turn on Alpha Lock, and then add light over here. We're making some diagonal strokes. I think that's nice for these windows. Then close this, open this one up, go to the top one, tap it and turn on Alpha Lock. And again, lighten up the lower area. And then finally for the window on the left, let's close this group, go to this layer, tap it, turn on Alpha Lock, and then lighten up the lower area. Now for some more detail on the door, let's go to this layer over here, tap it, turn on Alpha Lock. Then let's grab this dark color, 8th color in the first row. And I want to go along the edges, just a little bit outside of them. Don't want too much. Let's hold our pen in place. You can tap one finger on the screen. And you can actually go to edit here at the top. And you can just move that line so that it's nice and thin. Then tap the brush again. Make another one over here. Hold your pen in place. You can tap one finger on the screen. And again, you can tap line here and move it a bit. Then tap the brush again. Now let's make an edge over here. Tap your finger on the screen. Go to edit here and move it up a bit. Then for a little doorknob, let's tap the brush and now let's grab another color. Let's use this one, 1st color in the 3rd row. Let's check the size. That's a bit too big. Let's set it to 10% and add a little doorknob here. Then I'd also like some stairs over here. Let's make a new layer on top of our door. Once you're happy with your door, by the way, you could just pinch these together. Then tap the plus. And then for the color, let's first grab this one, 3rd color in the 1st row. And let's grab the selection tool. Set your rectangle, color fill turned on. And then let's just make a rectangle like this. Then we'll make another layer. We'll tap the plus and we'll grab another color. We'll grab this one, 2nd color in the 1st row. Then grab the selection tool again and make a rectangle that's a little bit lower. There needs to be a little gap and a little bit wider. So something like this. And then let's make another layer. Let's tap the plus. And I'm making new layers here so we can easily move these around if we have to. Let's grab the selection tool again. Make another one that's a bit wider and a little bit lower. So something like this. I think these look pretty good. Let's turn off the selection. But in case you went too far to the left, for example, or if you need to move these around, then you can easily do that since they are on separate layers. Next, let's make a layer underneath these. So let's tap our door, then tap the plus. Then for our color, we'll grab this one, 10th color in the first row. And for the brush, let's go to recent brushes. Let's use the studio pen. And let's go in here. And we need to go along these corners, attaching it to that corner here. We can just do this by hand. And we need to do the same over here. Just a diagonal line over here as well. And here. And if you want to fill this area, then of course you need to make sure that the shape is closed behind here. So make sure all the lines are attached, and then you can drag in the color. Now we have a simple set of stairs. Next, let's add some detail to the roof. We can merge our stair layers together to save some space. Then let's go to our roof. It's over here. And you can either draw directly on this layer and make sure that you have it set to alpha lock, or you can tap the plus for a new layer and set that to clipping mask. It gives you a bit more editing options, a bit more flexibility. So I always preferred this. So we are going to use this new layer, and then for our brush, we'll go back to the treasure chest brushes and use the round chalk pencil. And then for the color, we'll grab the 8 color in the first row. And we are going to create some roof tiles. First, let's check the size. The brush is a bit big. Let's make it a bit smaller, maybe 30%. That's good. Opacity is at 100. And now let's first make 4 horizontal lines, but very thin. So we'll make a line like this. Perhaps you can't even see it on camera, but we need to divide our roof with 4 lines. So one in the center, and then you can divide these areas. So we have a little guide, and then you can follow that line and create these roof tiles. So we'll go like this, make a bit of a rounded shape. So we'll slowly go from left to right, making these rounded rectangular shapes. And the bottom will follow that line that we have created. And then for this one, you can go like this. It'll go to the center of the other tile. Let's move your way to the left, creating a simple pattern. And then just continue doing this until it looks like this. Then next, I'd like to add a cafe sign. We can actually pinch these together. Once you're happy, you can just have them on one layer. Then let's go to our sign over here. Layer 3, let's tap the plus. And then for the color, let's grab this 1/3 color in the first row. And we can write the word cafe. Or perhaps in your language, it's a different word. But I'd like to write this by hand. We'll start with our C. You can just sketch it out a bit first. Then the A, F, and E. And then once you have this, you can add more thickness. Or you can adjust it a bit if that's needed. But I don't want these to be like perfect letters. I want some playfulness in there. So some nice thickness. And just make sure that the height is the same so that there is some sort of balance. And that the thickness is pretty much the same. And then once you have these nice thick letters, what you could do is tap and hold the eraser to make it switch to that round chalk pencil. Now let's make it a bit smaller, maybe 30%. And then you can cut off some parts, making it more like crisp. So something like this. Then I'd like to add some shadow. Let's make a layer underneath, or we can work directly on our sign. That's actually okay in this case. Let's grab this color, 8 color in the first row. And let's just make a little shadow edge underneath. We'll focus on the left sides of the letters and on the bottom part. So here's the left side, there's a bottom part, here on the left side, bottom parts, and over here also left side, bottom parts. Then you get a nice extra like shadow effect. Now our cafe is almost done. Let's merge some layers together. Like these windows, we can merge all of those together. And also the cafe sign. I just want to keep this and the roof on a separate layer. And also the cafe sign. Let's just pinch these together and have this all on one layer. So we have our building, then we have the sign on one layer and the roof and the sunshade. Then let's tap the plus for a new layer on top. We can set this to clipping mask. Then we can tap the N and scroll up to multiply to add a bit more shadow to our scene. For the brush, this time let's go to recent brushes. Let's use the studio pen. And then for the color, let's use this one. 4th color in the second row, a nice warm color. And then let's add a bit more shadow here at the top. You could just make a line like this, close the shape, and then drag in the color, of course. Fill that area. And over here as well, underneath our cafe sign, nice shadow. And we could also add like this diagonal shadow for that sunshade. Let's just roughly make a shape like this. Then drag in the color. And then we'll lower the opacity here. Let's tab the M, slide all the way to the left. Let's go for like 30% or 29, 31. What shall we do? Or just go for 30. And now that we have our nice little cafe, let's add some scene around it. Let's start with the sidewalk. Let's make a layer underneath these. Let's tap the plus, then drag this layer underneath. And then for the color, we are going to use this 3rd color in the first row. And then let's use the selection tool again with the rectangle turn on and color fill. And then let's make a nice rectangular shape. Something like this. And then let's go to the brushes and use the studio pen. I'd like to add a rounded parts here. Let's make a rounded shape. You can hold your pen in place to make a nice curve. You can drag in the color. And let's do the same over here. So I'll make a curve like this. You can use edit here to adjust it a bit and drag in a color. Let's see, that's pretty decent. You can also tap and hold the eraser to make it switch to the studio pen. And we can cut off a little part, tidy it up a bit. I think something like this looks decent. Then let's duplicate this layer. Let's slide to the left, tap duplicate, go to the bottom one. We're going to add a bit of a darker color there. This one, second color in the first row. Drag it on there. And then go to the move and transform tool and move this down a bit. Something like this. Then let's go to the eraser. And then we are going to erase a little part, make this align with the top part. Go for something like this. And then on this side as well. Nice little curve. Like this. Then let's immediately add some shading. Let's tap this layer and turn on alpha lock. Then let's go back to our round chalk brush, grab a darker color. Let's use this one, fifth color in the first row. And let's go over that underside. Let's make the brush a bit bigger, 30%. Let's go over that underside, add some of that texture and some of that shading. Add some nice interest. Now let's create a tree for our scene. We can pinch these two layers together actually. Let's pinch these together. Then let's tap the plus for a new layer. And let's drag that underneath our sidewalk. Then for the color, let's grab this one. That's the first color in the third row. And we are still using the round chalk brush. We are going to create the crown of the tree. And I want it to be about this height. Something like this. But I want it to be broader so we can start attaching a part to it. Making these rounded motions. Creating some sort of like cloud shape. Just fill it in entirely. And you can add more and more to the outer parts. Add some playfulness. We can go in there and with a smaller brush, smaller size, maybe 12%, we can add these little leaves sticking out. Maybe some are a little bit on the outside, floating around here. That adds to the playfulness, I think. Maybe we can even go a little bit lower here. Let's go for something like this. Then for the tree trunk and the branches, let's tap the plus for a new layer. Then for the color, let's use this one, 8th color in the first row. And for the brush, let's use the round chalk pencil. Let's start in the center here, make a line going down for our trunk. And then let's add to it. Let's add some volume. And then we can add branches here. And make sure that they become thinner as you move towards the outside. We have one here in the center. Create some nice side branches. You don't have to copy this exactly. You can create your own tree shape. branch over here. And I make sure to color in the trunk here. All the way down, a little bit broader here at the bottom. I think this looks good. Now let's go back to our tree crown. Let's turn on alpha lock here. And then I'd like to use another brush from the treasure chest. I'd like to go to the spacklet brush. And then for the color, I'd like to use this one, second color in the third row. Let's make the brush a bit bigger, 45%. Let's set the opacity to 100. And let's go over this lower area. Rounded motions, adding some nice shading there. Then I'd like to go on top of our branches. So let's first select that, then tap the plus. Then we'll go back to our round chalk brush and a lighter color. We'll grab this one, fifth color in the second row. And let's add some loose leaves. So we'll just add these little dabs. Right on top of those branches. Some random groups, little groups of leaves. I think this is a nice balance. Then I'd like to add some more plants to our scene. I'd like some plants over here on the sidewalk and also here at the top. I think that would be a nice area for plants. So let's make a new layer on top of our sidewalk. Let's tap the plus. Then for our brush, let's go to recent brushes and grab the studio pen. And for the color, let's grab this one, first color in the second row. And let's make some pots, but they can be very simple. Just the shape like this. And maybe this one is more like this shape. And a lot will be covered by leaves and parts of the plant, so don't worry too much about it. Then over here, small little pot. And another one over here. And now let's make a layer on top. Let's tap the plus for some more pots, but then with a lighter color. With this one, fourth color in the second row. So let's make one right in front here. Drag in the color. And over here as well. And another simple one over here. Just something like this. Very simple shapes. Then for the plants itself, let's make a new layer on top. Let's tap the plus. Let's go back to our round chalk brush. And let's also add a color variety to it again. So we'll tap the brush, go to color dynamics, and then turn up the stroke jitter to 5%, and then tap done. And now we are going to fill these with plants. Let's start with this color, second color in the second row. Let's go in here. And let's just make some very simple plants with these little dabs. You can switch up the colors. We'll go to the third color in the second row. And I'll just create these simple little bushes. And now we can switch the color to the fourth color in the second row. for some warmth in there. So I got some really simple plants there. Then we can do the same over here. Let's start with this color, second color in the second row. Maybe a simple little plant like this. And then in front, there will be like a bush like this. And then over here, these are like almost like little trees. And then again, we can add some color variety. Perhaps with this color, first color in the second row. Definitely just play around with this. And maybe a bit of a lighter color. Oh, we could grab this one, fourth color in the second row. Add a little bit of that as well. Now we could add some extra detail to the pots. We could add a layer on top of our pot layers. Let's tap the plus. And then let's go to the round chalk pencil. Let's grab a bit of a darker color, like this one, seventh color in the first row. And then with this brush, we could add these outlines, maybe like an extra line. Adding a bit more definition to these pots. And we can do the same over here. Just adding a bit of an outline. Very simple pot designs. And now once you're happy with them, of course, you can pinch these layers together. Now for a little sign, perhaps a menu board. Let's tap the plus for a new layer. Then for the color, we'll grab this one, third color in the third row. And we can stick with this brush. I'd like this board to be over here. And it's like a rectangular shape. Something like this. We can just sketch it out a bit. Just create that outer edge. And it's like I said before, it's nice if it's a little bit wonky. Now let's switch to the round chalk brush. Don't forget to turn off the stroke jitter. Let's set that to none again, tap done. And we can use this brush to fill in that middle area. A bit easier than with the round chalk pencil. So we need a slightly skewed rectangular shape here. And then let's set this layer to alpha lock. So tap it, turn on alpha lock, then grab a light color. This one over here, third color in the first row, and go along the edges to create that edge of the chalkboard, chalk menu board. Now you can't really see the bottom here. So what we need is a little bit of shadow on our sidewalk. Let's go to this layer and then grab this color over here. That's the fifth color in the first row. And let's go right underneath to create a little shadow. And now let's continue. Let's go back to that board. Let's grab that light color again, third color in the first row. I want it to be a little bit thicker, that outer edge, something like this. And then for some text, we can use the round chalk pencil. And let's make it a little bit smaller, maybe 10%. And And we can just scribble something. Just as if there's text on here. Or you could actually write something if you feel inspired. I'll just go for these little scribbles. And then let's make a layer underneath this. So first let's go to this one and tap the plus. And then let's grab this color, first color in the first row. And let's make a line right behind here. So that's like the stand of this board. And let's grab the eraser. I want to erase a little part here at the bottom. I don't want it to be too long. And we can add a little shadow there. We can tap the layer, turn on alpha lock, then grab the round chalk brush. And then let's grab this color, first color in the second row. Let's use that here on top for a slight shadow. And we can make the lower part a bit lighter perhaps. We could use the second color in the first row. Add a little bit of light. Let's go for something like this. The final thing our little cafe needs are some chairs and tables. So let's make a new layer. Let's do that on top of all the others. Let's tap the plus. For the brush, I'd like to use the monoline brush. And for the color, let's grab this first color in the first row. Now the opacity of the brush is at 100%, the size at 10. And now let's make an oval shape like this. And you can tap one finger on the screen so it's perfectly like horizontal, and then drag in the color. Next, let's duplicate this layer. We'll slide to the left, tap duplicate. Then for the top one, we'll add a lighter color. We'll grab this one, 10th color in the first row, drag that on there. Hey, I hope you are enjoying this tutorial so far. I just want to let you know that I've also dropped a tutorial at Patreon, which I'm really excited about. It's this city scene illustration with a cat as its main character. And I just really love not just the colors in this tutorial, but also the techniques we'll be going through. But this is just one of the more than 200 tutorials that I have at Patreon. So if you really want to develop your digital drawing and painting skills in Procreate, then that's the place you need to go. But for now, we'll just go back to our cozy cafe. And then for the bottom one, we are going to use the Move and Transform tool and move it down a little bit to about here, and then tap the arrow again. Then let's go in here and grab the eraser. Let's check it's still set to the studio pen. That's good. And then let's carve this a little bit. Something like this. Then we can add a little bit of shading to the lower part. Let's go to this layer, tap it, and turn on alpha lock. Then we can use the round chalk brush again. Let's grab a darker color like this one, first color in the second row. And then let's go over the sides just a little bit to add a little bit of shadow. Then we'll make a new layer underneath. We can pinch these together, by the way. Then make a layer underneath. So first tap this one, then tap the plus. Then let's grab the monoline brush again and a dark color. Let's grab this one, 6th color in the second row. Let's have the opacity at 100%. Let's set the size to 20. And then through the center, we'll make a line going down to about here. Let's tap one finger on the screen to make it perfectly vertical. And then let's make another layer. Let's tap the plus. And now we are going to make a little curve here. Start here, make a curve like this. You can hold your pen in place to make it nice and rounded. Then let's duplicate this. We'll slide to the left on the layer, tap duplicate, then go to the Move and Transform tool, use Flip Horizontal, and then move it to the other side. And then tap the arrow. Now we have a nice little table. We can pinch the layers of the table together And then we need a chair. Let's make a new layer for the chair. Let's tap the plus. And then for our brush, let's use the studio pen. And for the color, let's use this one again, 10th color in the first row. Now let's go in here and let's make like a bit of like an oval shape over here for the seating of our chair. Something like this. And then let's make another layer. Let's tap the plus. And for the color, let's grab this one. That's the 9th color in the first row. And then let's make another shape over here. That's for like where you rest your back. Maybe we can even make it a little bit bigger. So we have this like oval shape for the bottom and then this shape for the back, which is higher, a little bit to the right. And now we can connect these parts. Let's do that by creating a layer underneath. First select the table, then tap the plus. Then for our color, we'll grab this one again, 6th color in the second row. And for the brush, we'll stick with the studio pen. And now let's start here at the same height as the bottom of the table. And let's make a curved line like this. And then here we'll do the same to the other way. So we're making a cross. Then we'll make a line going down like this. And over here as well, slightly curved. And we can extend this line upward to the back of the chair. And another line like this. So this is a very simple chair shape. Next, let's give some volume to the seating. Let's go to this layer. Let's tap it and turn on alpha lock. Then let's grab a darker color. Let's go for this one, 1st color in the first row. And let's go in here and add a little edge. Let's do the same for the back of the chair. Let's go there, let's tap it and turn on alpha lock. And then let's grab a color that is a bit darker, like perhaps this one, 1st color in the second row. And add a slight edge here. Now to make the top of the table a bit more like visible, we could extend this shadow underneath those plants a bit. We could go to this layer. Then let's grab our round chalk brush. And we can just grab that local color here. Just tap and hold your finger on the screen. And then we can just extend this a little bit. And it'll help for that visibility of our table. Let's do the same over here so that the shadows are a bit the same. I think that's nice. Now all we have to do is duplicate our chairs and our chair and a table. Let's start with the chair. Let's pinch these together. Then let's slide to the left, tap duplicate. Then go to the move and transform tool, use flip horizontal. And let's slide it to the left. And let's place it about here. I think we can move the other chair a bit closer to the table. Let's go to that layer, then go to the move and transform tool, place it a bit closer like this. I think that's nice. Then tap the arrow. Then we are going to group these. So slide to the right to select the table and 2 chairs. Then use group, close the group, slide to the left, tap duplicate, go to the move and transform tool, and move this to this area. And now let's duplicate it again. Let's slide to the left, tap duplicate, go to the move and transform tool, and place this one over here. And now you can tap the arrow again. Now we just need some shadows. Let's go back to our sidewalk. Let's use the round chalk brush for the color. I think we have the right one right now. Maybe, Yeah, that's the right one. 5th color in the first row. And then let's go underneath and just add a little bit of shadow, just like this horizontal stroke underneath the chairs and a table, and also underneath these pots. So just horizontal lines. And over here. And that's it for your cozy cafe illustration. I hope you had fun. Don't forget to share your work, and then I'll see you next time for the next tutorial.